I've waited for a day like this. I've waited for a day where we would have Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, the mega fight, as a real possibility. And Islam Makhachev today, on one of the interviews he must have been doing in preparation for UFC 322, all the media, that he is accepting to fight Ilia Topuria at the White House. Of course, assuming that him and Illia both win their next fights. So Islam Makhachev is fighting Jack Della Maddalena at welterweight in a few weeks at UFC 322 in Madison Square Garden. And he said that he would gladly fight Ilia Topuria at the White House because he's like, what other fight is bigger than this, brother? Something like that. That was a horrible impersonation, but yo, this is getting so crazy how stacked this White House card could be. We have Pereira and Jones accepting a super fight versus each other for a White House card. We now have Ilia Topuria versus Islam calling for each other at the White House. And by the way, this would probably be a welterweight. Islam said if Dana wants it to be Dana's gonna have to pay to get Islam to cut back down to lightweight because according to Islam, he was fighting at about 60 to 70% capacity because of how much he doesn't think that people that drop that much weight can fight at their 100% capacity. So really Islam's saying that he's in his element for this welterweight fight with Jack Della Maddalena, that he doesn't have to drop as many pounds and that he'll actually be at 100% capacity now in this division. So we'll see just how true that is because we're going to get into UFC 322 in a minute because it's in a few weeks and I'm just so hyped because the card is crazy. But we already have to look in the horizon to what potentially could happen later in 2026 in June for the once-in-a-generation card, the White House, right? This is going to be the most loaded and stacked card of all time. It's just so fun. It's so fun to see the amount of fighters. I mean, who doesn't want to be on this card? Every single fighter wants to be on this card. You have the biggest stars like Alex Pereira, John Jones, Topuria, Makhachev, Charles Oliveira, Israel Adesanya, Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen, all different types of fighters that want to get on this card. Like, it's absolutely insane. It's so fun to just see the amount of fighters trying to hype up their own special matchups for this card. And what will actually, every single fight is going to be so hyped to see when they announce it, when they start matchmaking in February. This is one of the cards on the prelims. This is one of the cards to open up the night. This is the main card. Every single fight is going to be so big and it's going to have to be with a ranked name. They're going to have so many big, like, great names, but like the way they could build this card, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it could be literally so crazy. You want Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, Jones versus Pereira, Topuria versus Islam. That's already just insane to me. That even just this fight, you pair this with like McGregor and Chandler as the co-main. I mean, I don't know how McGregor could ever be a co-main to someone or not a headliner, but he might just have to be with the amount of super fights that could be made that are being called for this White House. Because Pereira versus Jones and Topuria versus Makhachev are way more hyped than McGregor's comeback for a one-off with Michael Chandler. Like, I appreciate that Conor McGregor, he said he's found God, he's saved, he's locked in, he has his competitive spirit again. That's great. You know, you can never take Conor McGregor's word for it until he actually shows up in the octagon for that day. But Ilia Topuria, my favorite fighter, now is rumored to be fighting Paddy Pimblett in January. If he gets through Paddy in January, or Justin Gaethje, and Islam gets through Jack Della Maddalena, if they're both wanting that fight, you got to make that fight. UFC, you got to make that fight for the White House. As Islam said, what fight is bigger than that? Two of the best pound-for-pound fighters, two of the best fighters of this generation, probably the two best skill-for-skill fighters in the UFC in their prime, primed-up champions. I think even if Islam loses to Jack Della Maddalena, like, make this fight, it won't be as hype, but if they both still have that element of invincibility, that Topuria has been undefeated and he'll be 17-0, and Makhachev hasn't lost, and he just got his second belt in a new division, like, it's crazy. It's a crazy thing to think about, but it just makes it that much more fun to add this now into the realm of possibilities for the White House card and the set of fights that could be on that card. Absolutely insane and really just special. Like, and I actually want to now talk about how just stacked and unbelievable UFC 322 is. Just unbelievable. Like, look at this card. Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev, a stylistic masterpiece. It's really interesting. Really interesting fight as we get closer. You know, it's so hard to pick against either. It's so hard to pick against Islam Makhachev from just the way he's handled business versus everyone he's faced. But I mean, his last fight was Renato Moicano, but it was supposed to be Arman Sarukian. That would have been a much more better win on the legacy by far. We got robbed of that fight. But then Jack Della Maddalena with his boxing, the takedown defense. Is he bigger than Islam? This is a really intriguing and compelling stylistic matchup at the top of this card. Then you have Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko. Women's super fight. The biggest women's fight you can make in the sport right now. I mostly don't care about women's MMA. Like, Jandiroba versus Dern just happened. Couldn't give anything about that fight. But Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili is actually a fight that I could be interested in. You got the greatest, arguably the greatest strawweight ever, fighting the greatest flyweight, Shevchenko. It's pretty sick for a co-main. I mean, it probably won't be the most entertaining fight. You can't expect to finish, but then they added this out of nowhere, bro. Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. Michael Morales 18-0, sorry, versus the 18-1 Sean Brady. And this is an exceptional top-ranked welterweight fight. I mean, this entire card is just a welterweight blockbuster. With them, half the welterweight division's top 10 is on this card. Like, Sean Brady, I think, could be a future champion. And I think he'll get it done versus Michael Morales. That's just an early pick. But that's the featured fight. They just threw this on here. And then we'll get to this in a minute. Like, why the hell is Bo Nickal on the main card? But Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates to open up the card. Can't say enough about how excited I am always for a Carlos Prates fight. He's a rising star. Imagine a crazy KO moment on Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is just on a crazy downfall. But yeah, this right here is what confuses me. Why the hell is Bo Nickal in the main card with Rodolfo Vieira when you have a fight like Benoit Saint-Denis versus Beneil Dariush? Makes no sense. Why? Ranked lightweight fight over a unranked middleweight fight with a guy who just came off one of the worst fraud check moments of the year to Reinier de Ridder. I don't know what the UFC is doing. I don't know how this makes any sense to have Bo Nickal on the main card because you want to push him that heavy. So what, we could see another boring finish where he just kind of, and not saying that Rodolfo Vieira is a walk in the park. Like, he could very well beat Bo Nickal, and then we're going to be talking even more about how badly the UFC has been pushing Bo Nickal and how it's aged so badly. Like, honestly, some people, I don't care much for Bo Nickal's career. It pisses you off when you see the way the UFC's pushing him, shoving us down our throats by putting him, pause on that, but putting him in these main card slots, especially when he just lost. He's a perfect prelim. I'm telling you, Benoit Saint-Denis versus Beneil Dariush should be in that main card slot. And honestly, this fight should, if anything, be the opener, and then this should be above that. It doesn't make any sense, this bout order, but I'm not going to get too fed up about that, because at the end of the day, even though the fights are ordered a certain way, at the end of the day, it's still all on the same card. So can't be too mad about that. And then Gregory Rodriguez versus Romy Kopylov. You got a great high-ranked flyweight women's fight. You know, get your piss break in, get your food during Tracy Cortez versus Erin Blanchfield. And then Malcolm Wellmaker. Malcolm Wellmaker, bro, this guy could be a real problem. Coming off 2 first-round highlight KOs that have immediately put him in the limelight. Great story. Came from a welding career. We'll get more into this. I don't like to put too much into the fight descriptions right now because we got the fight week video, but I'm too hyped for this card. This is a phenomenal card. Bang Sangor versus Akayev. Hamzat's teammate making his return versus Eric McConaughey. Gerald Mearshart, a veteran, okay, cool, versus Kyle Dawkins. And then apparently Pat Sabatini's on the card. This is, I don't even know, this could be better than UFC 320. It's definitely up there. It's side by side with UFC 320 is one of the best pay-per-views this year. The UFC just decided to go all out with the final cards of the year. UFC 322 is so loaded. They just decided to really just give us a treat with this card, man. Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. Della Maddalena versus Islam. Prates versus Edwards. And then the prelims are insane. Malcolm Wellmaker probably going to have another highlight KO in MSG. Don't want to get too high on the Malcolm Wellmaker train yet, but the way that he could make a splash with another KO versus Cody, it's over. So yeah, super excited for this fight, of course, and this card. UFC 322 is a special card. And then looking ahead to at UFC 323, you got Qatar, which is insanely stacked. They've added a bunch of great fights to this card as well. Like, besides the 2 title fights, right? Merab and Alexandre Pantoja, arguably GOATs in their respective divisions versus contender, like fighters that earned their shot with Peter Yan and Joshua Van. And I got both champions to defend again. I think most people strongly feel that way. But then you got Moreno versus Tyra, Guskov versus Jan Blachowicz. It's not the strongest card with like star power, but just the way that the amount of fights sprinkled in here are a bunch of really fun fights, entertaining fights. Jalen Turner came out of retirement. Just goes to show like how short of a span like UFC fighters will retire. Wouldn't be surprised if Dustin Poirier comes back, honestly. Jalen Turner coming back. You got Grant Downs versus Manny Torres, Chris Duncan versus Terrence McKinney, Ferezian versus Nazim Sadikov. I'm telling you, just so many great brawls and fights. Can't wait to get into more in depth on that card. So yeah, the UFC is finishing up the year very strong. Besides these 2 fight nights we got that we have to sit through back to back, the rest of the year is really, really good. So yeah, guys, hope everyone's doing well this Monday night. And so much more to be excited about when you have the possibility now of Islam Makhachev taking on Ilia Topuria in the super fight we've all wanted before. Literally because Jack Tillman beat Bilal, we were robbed of that fight coming sooner. But it could still happen if the timeline plays itself right. So that's all I'm trying to say. You know, don't come at me too hard because I'm a Topuria super fan, okay? I'm just appreciating the greatness and how things could play out. Like, I need this fight. It would be the greatest day ever. With the way the White House will be the greatest day in UFC, like in combat sports, period. So, hope everyone's doing good, and until next time.